ice, waves, temperature so cold you could flick your nipple off. You will never, ever catch me or any of my 70 subscribers on a trip to the North or South Pole, okay? We love life and don't have a death wish. Thank you very much. You ever see Titanic? Those people weren't even explorers. They weren't even in the Arctic Ocean. They were in the Atlantic, and the ice still found them. That. Kate Winslet isn't even that hot, but I do like that one scene, the sexy scene. The terrible conditions, the absolute hopelessness, the unceremonious and undignified ways they die. Why you would want to put yourself through that is beyond me. You want a thrill, just snap into a Slim Jim. But if you're still itching to make the trip, maybe a couple of tales will set you straight. So without further ado, here are 5 tragic tales from the frozen ends of the earth. At number 1, we have Captain Robert Falcon Scott, a member of the British Royal Navy. His first trip to the South Pole was in 1901, and while he didn't get to the South Pole exactly, it was still seen as a big success. Now emboldened, he decided to take his gang on another trip in 1912, this one much more daring. He was actually going to be the first person to reach the very bottom of the earth. Didn't go well for him. During his journey, Scott and the boys battled treacherous blizzards, just relentless conditions, but at least they were gonna make history. Uh-oh, what's that? Unbeknownst to Falcon and his gang, there was another group that was trying to get there first, the Norwegians. A Norwegian team led by Roald Amundsen had actually been racing towards the same goal. And upon finally reaching the very South Pole, Scott was devastated to see the Norwegian flag flying, and it shattered him. Defeated, they head back home, which was even more treacherous. You see, a critical communication never made its way to the base camp. What they needed was for the dog sleds to come help them out so they can get out of there. They never arrived because base camp didn't know they were ready for them. A few months later, the bodies were discovered, huddled up in a makeshift tent. They were dead. Found among their belongings, though, were Antarctic fossils, which showed that the continent had once been had lush greenery all over the place. It was a big breakthrough. So even in death, there was at least a scientific triumph. That's not often the case, though, as with number 2, James Knight. Knight was an 18th century trader deeply involved with the Hudson Bay Company, and during his time around the James and Hudson Bays, he kept hearing whispers from the Canadian First Nations people of rivers containing yellow metals in their homelands at the top of Canada, along the Arctic Ocean. So Knight goes, "You mean like gold?" Boing. And in 1719, the 70-year-old goes to a committee and gets permission to take 2 crews above the Discovery in Albany and make their way to seek the Strait of Anian, leading to the Northwest Passage, increase and expand the company's trade, discover gold and copper mines, that was like the big thing that, made James' eyes pop out of his head, and to establish a whaling company. They departed from Gravesend and all disappeared. Half a century later, the ship's remains and wrecks were found off the coast of Marble Island, at the bottom of the Hudson Bay by Samuel Hearn. According to the natives, he was informed that the ships were mysteriously shipwrecked in 1719, probably maybe by a French surprise attack, and there was a surviving crew, and they did try to make houses and keep going, but within 2 years, everybody had died. I like to think that after informing him of their fates, the locals asked Hearn if he wanted any yellow metal himself, to which he was like, "Oh, yeah, of course." And they brought him over a big frozen block of piss with little pieces of poop in it. Spooked yet? Let's keep going. Eduard Von Toll. Toll was a lover of the sciences who studied mineralogy, medicine, zoology, all at university, and participated in a successful research expedition to the Balearic Isles. He was like, "Man, I'm pretty good at this." So in 1900, he joined the Russian Polar Expedition with the objective of finding Sannikov Land. The winter conditions were so bad and extreme that they had to twice overwinter in the New Siberian Archipelago. Growing impatient, this absolute blockhead took a sled, kayak, group of people, and was last seen kicking off into the dark night blizzard, yelling, "I'm off to find Santa Claus land!" Probably. And he died. Next we have Belgrave Edward Ninniss. Joined the Australian Antarctic Expedition in 1911, slipped into a crevice, dead! Okay? Do you get it now? And just in case you thought there was a loophole, let's talk about S.A. Andree. Like you, he thought he was smarter than everybody when he came up with this absolute dud of a plan. Maybe I'll fly to the North Pole in my hot air balloon. Immediate issues. When he reached Svalbard, which was the intended launch location, things were already going wrong. The balloon was leaking and was untested. Despite this, Andree and his 2 companions said, You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And they flew off in their balloon, which probably looked something like this. Within 2 days, the balloon lost all of its hydrogen and crashed into an ice pack. And they were all stranded without any supplies, any support, eventually becoming isolated on a deserted island.
Well, this sucks.
It remained a mystery for 3 decades until in 1930, a chance discovery of their last camp provided a final resolution to their story. The person who found their bodies actually brought back to Sweden what he thought was a rare metal, but just ended up being a frozen block of piss with little pieces of poop in it. Probably. I don't know. And that's it! Would you really ever go on a polar expedition? What about go on a cruise? On a hot air balloon? Have you ever been stuck in the middle of the Adirondacks during a terrible blizzard in a Chevy Malibu with 0 tread? You've got your best friend driving, pretty girl in the back that you're driving home from school, and things aren't looking great because you're dead in the water. Like I said, there's 0 tread on it, so you're starting to panic because you're like, oh, well, I might actually, these things could be bad once the car, if the battery dies out. And here's the thing, you can't even think like, am I going to be able to eat, one of them, kind of partner up and, we team up and eat one of them if things get bad, because they're both beautiful. So they're going to get rid of me first. Also, I don't know if I'd even want to team up with anybody because I'm really hungry. I might be a little bit of a pig. What the heck am I going to do? And then all of a sudden a truck comes by, saves all of you, and you have to think that you maybe almost considered eating somebody. But then it's also like, hey, if you were to tell me that you aren't curious about how people taste, I will never trust you, because either you're a liar or you aren't a dreamer, and you've probably never even looked up at the stars in the sky and wondered a single thing in your dull life. I'm done. Bye.